Hey everybody, I'm in downtown Indianapolis. I'm actually walking along the cultural trail. You can kind of see here behind me. And I'm actually in one of the cultural districts today. It's one of the lesser known, honestly, because it's actually been designated only recently as a cultural district. So I'm in Market East, and we're gonna talk about Market East just a little bit here in downtown Indianapolis, what it's like around here, what you can find here, and of course, what it would be like maybe to live in Market East. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If you want to know everything there is to know about living in Indianapolis or any of the surrounding cities and towns of Indianapolis, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. Now we get calls and texts and reach outs, emails of all kinds from people all over the country with questions about places like downtown Indianapolis or just Indianapolis in general, some of the neighborhoods in Indianapolis, and of course some of the suburbs, the surrounding cities in town. So if you have questions at all about any place in Indianapolis or anywhere surrounding Indianapolis, then make sure you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move to Indianapolis. So again, today I am in Market East, which is not exactly, I would say, the most well-known cultural district in Indianapolis. And I think it's because it doesn't have a deep enough history as being a cultural district like some of the other ones in Indianapolis. There are several others in Indy. You've got places like Fountain Square, you've got Broad Ripple, you've got Indiana Avenue, which is over to the west, and then actually just off to my west, you've got the Wholesale District, and that's actually a part of really Indianapolis downtown proper, even though this Market East is right there along with it. And then just to the north of me, you've got really one of the most popular, it's certainly, I would say, probably out of all the cultural districts, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, because there's so much to do there. You got Mass Ave, and then off to the west of downtown, you get into White River State Park and the Canal. Super, super cool place. But I'm in Market East today, and Market East is named for a couple different things, actually. So you've got some landmarks, at least one landmark that used to be here, kind of behind me, where you can see just a little bit. That's where Market Square Arena used to be. And Market Square Arena is where the Pacers used to play, used to have concerts there. Obviously a pretty busy place when you're talking about a stadium like that. And of course it was in a Tom Petty song, Mary Jane's Last Dance, super popular whenever Tom Petty did come to Indianapolis and play. I mean, people would just go wild whenever he sang that song. And I remember Tom Petty talking about it, how it was just something that he looked forward to every single time he's coming to Indianapolis just to play that song because of the reaction that he got. But that's where Market Square Arena used to be. It was torn down years ago. And now there's City Market is this way, but City Market is very old, but got a new apartment building in its place, which isn't exactly super new anymore here in 2021. But then just past that, more apartments, you got a Whole Foods. It's essentially been completely filled in. But outside of that, in Market East, as I said, you've got City Market, which has been around actually a long time, and it's kind of the anchor of Market East. So we'll get into that in just a minute here, but when you're walking along Market East, it's actually a place that's pretty commercial, honestly. So as I turn around here, look back to the north, I'm now walking towards the south, and I'll get out here in the sun just a little bit. I'm gonna be crossing Ohio Street. But Market East is actually really quite commercial, and I'm gonna cross Ohio Street here, and it's actually a fairly busy street, so gotta certainly watch out there. But it's a place, again, that's very commercial. It's not a place where you're gonna find a whole lot of single-family detached homes with yards or anything like that. So I'm walking again along the cultural trail here. I saw a scooter just roll by me. But behind me, you've got more apartments there on Ohio Street, and coming up here into where the old Market Square Arena was, and sort of the newer part of Market East, this is where you get into some more apartments. So the only options really for living in a place like Market East, really truly, for the most part, it's just gonna be apartments. But you can live very, very close to Market East and get into all the things that it has to offer here. I'm coming up here on the YMCA, right at City Market. There's actually a parking garage here. And if you swing around here to the south and then take a right, you can get over to where City Market is. And City Market, again, told you we'd get back to it. Very old, been around a long time, but when you go inside of City Market, you have tons and tons of food vendors in there. And so it's a really popular place through the week in downtown Indianapolis for lunch, definitely. So once all the businesses around here, everybody gets on their lunch break, City Market's going to be one of the most crowded places that you're going to run into, and very, very cool. And actually attached there to City Market, there's a place called the Indianapolis CATACOMBS, and some people will talk about this like it's some kind of spooky, haunted place really close to City Market, but actually it's not at all. You can take tours of it, and it is pretty cool in the fact that it goes underground, but it's the remnants of the old Tomlinson Hall, which is a building that was built back in, I think, 1886, and then a fire destroyed it in the mid-1900s, in the 1950s at some point. But it's what remains, and the reason that it's actually there, the catacombs, you're not going to find graves or anything like that in there, but it was just a great way to move materials and supplies from one building to another, and also a place where it had pits for ice and could keep those things stored pretty easily. So I'm going to actually come up here and cross Market Street now. And Market Street, as you go into downtown proper, it's under construction, some serious construction at this point. So Market East does house those catacombs. It has City Market, which is back right over here behind me now. Super, super cool place. This building right here behind me is another one. It's the Cummins headquarters that was also built whenever Market Square Arena was completely torn down. So I'm walking through the newest part of Market East, and this is really why, one of the reasons why it did get that newer designation recently, is that kind of holding on to that history of Market Square Arena and the fact that, hey, it's got City Market and it has some historical buildings, plenty of places in here on the Register of Historic Places. So there is a lot happening in Market East for sure. But again, as far as living in Market East, kind of difficult. So you can't live in here per se without really, for the most part, having an apartment. You could have some townhomes that you could own, condos, that sort of style, but there aren't a tremendous number in here. But as far as single family detached homes are concerned, you could be within walking distance of Market East. It wouldn't be all that difficult to do. So if you get just off to my east, you can get into a neighborhood called Cole Noble. And then if you go just to the east and a little to the north, you get into Indianapolis' oldest neighborhood. So you got some super, super unique homes in there. Of course, a lot of times there are homes that need a lot of work, but there's some cobbled streets in there in Lockerbie Square. And then if you go just to the east and a little bit to the south of here, you get into a super popular neighborhood called Fletcher Place. And done some information videos on Fletcher Place before, and that is just one of the places where you're going to find not a tremendous number of places to live. It is a little bit smaller, and it's actually right across the highway from Fountain Square. So both of those are very similar to one another. They're very, very close to one another, obviously, but Fletcher Place has a lot of really good restaurants, and it's kind of known for having those restaurants in there. So those neighborhoods are fairly close, and then when you get a little bit north of here, the borders of Market East, you have Delaware Street on the west, you have New York Street to the north, you have East Street to the east, which, you know, that's pretty self-explanatory for sure. And then just to the south, there's a set of train tracks, and that defines the southern border here of Market East. So it's not a big district at all. So that is, again, going to limit the amount of space that you'll have in actually living in a place like this. But those neighborhoods are very close. And again, to the north, when you get up towards New York Street, some loud trucks down here. Turn around, go back the other way. Mass Ave ends right on the northern border of Market East. So when you get into Mass Ave, you have a lot more options for living, of course, more apartments, a lot more condos, townhomes, and then you can get into some of those single-family detached homes like a Lockerbie Square or a Chatham Arch, which is incredibly popular. And then you get outside of that a little more to the north, and now you're getting further away from here to where it's not exactly super convenient to walk, but you could, but it's a little bit more of a bike ride or a super short drive, and you get into places like the Old North Side, Heron Morton, and you can continue to go north from there, but you're getting further away. But Market East is definitely one of the cultural districts for a reason. It is a super cool place to visit. It could be a decent place to live, but again, you just don't have that many options, and that's unfortunate because it's sometimes pretty cool to live in a bustling place like Market East. so close to Wholesale District in downtown Indianapolis, several other cultural districts that are really truly within walking distance of here. But if you have any questions about Market East, downtown Indianapolis, Indianapolis in general, or any of the cities surrounding Indianapolis, then be sure you reach out. And until the next one, we'll see you later.